Miss me? Oh, you probably did. I'm blushing. Anyways, today I have a little prediction video. As some more experienced people may know, around this time last season we got some balance changes by the end of the second act of the test season, and it stands to reason that the same will happen soon enough for the current Shenji season. Could be tomorrow, could be 2 weeks from now, but at some point, Zeptolab is gonna have to change something. So let me review what happened in the last update so I can predict what will happen in the coming one. First of all, we got a handful of nerfs, the first of which went to the shield ability. Shield ability was incredible to use, not so incredible to fight against. It's safe to say that this nerf was successful in maintaining the balance of its ability, cutting the speed of those using it down, even at max level. We also had seen some drops in playtime for people playing Herc and Bastion, but we also saw some overall nerfs to two heroes. The first of which was Bertha, uh, who got a nerf to her suppression ability, reducing speed, and the second one was a nerf to Mirage, who got a nerf to her damage, I believe, as well as one of her speed abilities. Um, then we also had a couple of smaller, substantial buffs to low tier heroes, including Cyclops, um, as well as the likes of Doc and Leviathan. This wasn't everything, but this is a good quota to reach. It's a great indicator of the quality of an update. Now for the hypothetical future update that could potentially happen. Uh, we ought to make some counterparts for each of these. So we're going to take some of the trends that Zeptolab has put forward, and we're going to nerf some of the top heroes and abilities, as well as buff some of the bottom-most heroes. Um, the community has a few contenders for broken ability right now. There's a few going around, such as the Fire Hunter for Shenji, Invis. Some people even think Scan ought to get a nerf. Um, Out of all of these, I would think, for the sake of balance, I predict that there will be a small nerf to invisibility of all of those. Um, not to say that Shenji's Molotov isn't strong, because it's super strong, but also he's the current premium hero, and still wants to sell the third act of the season. So they'll probably wait until that's out before they think about nerfing Shenji at all. The invisibility nerf that I want to add is probably one that increases the time to shoot by after exiting invisibility by an extra zero point 0.1 seconds, just to account for latency. However, knowing the developers and understanding the way they work, they might just nerf the damage boost or the speed boost that invisibility gives, which would really hurt Stalker and Ghost mains. This is, of course, conjecture. I also think they will come around with a few hero nerfs. The first one, I think, is going to be Lynx. And the question becomes, has enough time passed where Zepto would be willing to nerf Lynx? I think it's possible, and if they do, I think it would be something to her fire rate, maybe her damage. Um, some say that her insane firing range is the reason why she's so strong, but I think it's also a unique aspect about her, and it helps her fill the role of an anti-sniper hero, mixing in rain of arrows and incredibly long distances to pressure. enemy snipers who are not playing Lynx. No, I think if they would nerf her, it would be something to her damage, since right now she can one-shot Freddy with explosive rounds, two-shot Dragoon and Arnie, and dual tanks with rapid fire for some reason. She's without a doubt the most well-rounded sniper in terms of range, damage, fire rate, stealth, all the important aspects, and this is a prime candidate for a nerf. And since there's another slot of nerfing a hero, I'm going to make a bold take and say the SMG sniper meta is going to be more SMG focused if Zepto only nerfs Lynx. So I think SMGs as a whole will take a nerf as well. Probably nothing huge, but if I were to tackle the real problem here, it would be some sort of nerf to, I would think that they would go forth and just nerf Stim outright, because it does cause a lot of complications and problems. Um, of course, SMGs will still be lightning fast, but reducing the speed gain in some way for Stim would be really helpful to everybody else. But you definitely want to get rid of the rushing problems of Freddy and Angel, and you don't want to have it in the game, especially by nerfing the top sniper. You don't want them to be unkillable and unhittable. And if Zepto isn't brave enough to do that, then a nerf to like the common meta gear sets could also be done. I see like Skeleton Hand or something else getting hit. I'm not 100% sure exactly what they would hit, but Skeleton Hand seems to be the top contender for nerfing a gear here. Mostly because you have to replace the absolutely busted part of the hand, which is the fact that it gives you more ammo, which is stupidly good on scouts, specifically everyone who's not Freddy. So Angel, Ghost, Raven really, really like to have Skeleton Hand, because it just gives them more ammo, and I think that with that, coupled with a magazine boost in game, they're able to solo like two tanks in a row, which just should not be possible on scouts. They should have to reload a bit more frequently to counteract their incredible power. And of course, they would have to replace the ammo count increase with something else viable, but not as overpowered. I think the Skeleton Hand should lose the ammo. But instead of that, it should add something useful to scouts like vision, which would help with like vision builds on specific heroes. Something that scouts should have more of, so that they can actually, oh, I don't know, scout. And now for buffs. Last time we got 3 buffs. One of them was meaningful, that took Leviathan from being just like a jobber to an anti-meta defense hero. Cyclops was buffed in order to take him from basically a niche pick to an interesting support that can finally make heroes like Firefly, Lynx, Satoshi, and Tess, to name a few, always aimed. And Doc got a buff to... Okay, well, the Doc buff basically did nothing. Let's fix these. And I think the 3 heroes that we ought to buff this time are Doc, again, Smog, because he needs it, and, well, I don't know, let's buff Hurricane, and let's see where that gets us. I think, to start, Doc needs a buff. And no, it's not because I'm a Doc main. I'm not biased. Look, okay? Look at the facts. Doc is a steep slope of a character. He's incredibly hard to climb up and get use from him. And, you know, let's throw Smog in here as well. The first thing that we ought to buff is just straight up missiles. Missiles as a whole just need a buff. They do. Okay? Doc and Smog don't have good guns, and the missile is a good supplementary tool right now, but and I know Doc's gun is a little better, but he's a nightmare to play. So where you can't missile while you're team healing, Smog is a bit easier to pick up. I think they're roundabout equal in their power, and missile I think is the common denominator that needs a buff more than anything. So let's not touch the guns, okay? Let's solely buff the missile. It's an easier solution, and Zepto will almost certainly take that easier solution. They're not just going to individually buff their guns. I think that would be kind of strange for them. It would be the better buff, sure, but it would not be something that I see them doing. First, I think missile damage needs to be increased. The scaling is totally out of whack. Think of like the ultimate tier, Doc and Smog. A missile deals 1,378 base damage, and at Stellar it's 1,455 without personal gears. 20 levels between them, and not even 100 damage has increased. That's 7k lobby to Divine lobby, and the missile increases by a total of 100 damage. Missile's damage just sort of doesn't get better when you upgrade it to high levels. Let's fix that, because just standing on like a max level grenade deals boatloads of damage. Getting smacked in the face with a heavy ordnance should immediately eliminate more than it currently does of your armor and health. So the first buff, more damage on missile direct hit. Secondly, and we're not done with Doc and Smog just yet, let's change some of their passives. For instance, Doc has a worthless passive ability in that when he takes damage, he gives his team reload speed, of all things. Look, unless you're queued up with Sparkle, it almost never comes up, since Doc himself needs to take damage to proc it. He has a 70-round drum magazine, and his reload itself is so pitifully slow anyways that it doesn't make his own reload speed good enough. Like, take the example of, like, you start a game, you pick up ammo, and as you're reloading, you get flanked by a ghost, and you just die within the first 10 seconds. That increase of reload speed won't reload your gun fast enough to stop that. So even in what it's designed for, it's not good. So let's remove it. Let's just remove it, and let's give him something that's really useful, such as give him decreased aim time or increased movement speed while aiming for him and his team when he takes damage. I still want to keep it as a when he takes damage thing. That's really Doc's whole spiel, is taking damage, activate an ability. And I think I would rather go for aim time, because Doc's aim time is also pretty pitifully slow, and unless you're running Levi in the same team comp, it's really not going to be you're not going to be aiming fast at all, so you have to always move at a stupidly slow pace. So let's fix that. And for Smog, his health back when he takes damage on directional fire should be buffed, just so that he can tank more from heroes who shoot a lot of like low damage bullets, and then let's say at maximum it's 30 instead of 25, so high fire rate heroes will have a harder time getting through his faster healing meat bar. And as per usual, they have to add one buff that accomplishes basically nothing. I was thinking Hurricane should get a little something to encourage using him over Angel, and I think the best thing we can do is increase the armor he saps away per pellet by like an extra 5 or so. He shoots 6 pellets, so that'll increase his armor sap by like 30 per shot. This would make him probably the best shotgunner versus heavy armored targets, while still keeping him at like a reasonable DPS. After all, Shenji's in the meta, and Angel, if she does get nerfed, say we do nerf scouts, there would be a lot of former Angel mains who would just stop playing overall unless they had an alternative, and I think buffing Hurricane a little bit would give them that kind of alternative so that they stay in the game and keep playing.